Hey, it's Rick from For Community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. Merry Christmas! It's that time of year again that I get so excited about. Hopefully you do too. Merry Christmas. As an adult, I have had to make some changes to the way I celebrate Christmas because the ways I did as a kid, they just don't work anymore for my family. For example, when I was a kid, the Christmas tree used to get set up on the first weekend of December, and the Christmas presents never made it under the tree until Christmas Eve. So I woke up on Christmas Day, and ta-da, there were the presents there. And that's the tradition I started with when Michelle and I were first married. But what happened is that when my son turned about 3 or 4, I can't remember, probably 4 years old, this is what he did. He started searching all through the house to find his presents because I didn't wrap them, I just hid them. And we had a really, really small place where we were living. And so he would find his Christmas presents. And then when we would find them, he'd show them to me and he'd say, "Daddy, this is no longer a Christmas present because Christmas presents have to be surprises and I won't be surprised by this. So this is just mine now." And like a total doughhead, I completely bought into that logic. And I said, "Okay, fine, you're right, pal." And so what I did is I changed our Christmas tradition. I started wrapping the presents. And because I had nowhere to store them because we had such a small house, I used to put them under the tree. And because I would buy Christmas presents early, that meant that I had to set the tree up early and put all those Christmas presents underneath the tree. So our tradition now is I set up the Christmas tree November 1, put the Christmas presents under it very, very early, and the Christmas presents slowly grow. And you know what? I've got 4 kids, so there really is a growth of presents happening underneath the tree. It's very easy because I've got 4 kids to see it, a mountain growing. So here's the thing, I totally had to change something that I was used to doing. And initially it didn't feel great. Okay, initially it felt kind of awkward putting the tree up early, putting the presents under early, but I want you to understand something with me, okay? That moment where I was forced to make a change to my typical plans, to make a change to my typical family culture, family tradition. It felt awkward, it felt bad, but there was such a gift inside of that. So now I actually we've got this wonderful tradition where we've got the Christmas trees up early and the presents under it. But also I get to tease my kids by tormenting them and touching the presents and shaking them because they're not allowed to and saying, "I wonder what's inside of this." And Christmas is so much more fun for me now. Instead of waiting until the last minute and doing all of the wrapping on Christmas Eve just to surprise my kids the next morning, who wants to do that? There was such a gift. Initially, the change felt horrible, but now looking back on it, I would say, man, that unplanned change was actually a gift. Have you had to make a change to the way that you celebrate Christmas? I mean, you remember how things used to be done as a kid when you first got married, and now they are somehow different. What changes have you had to make to your Christmas traditions in the past that you're thankful about today? In this video's passage, we're looking at a significant change of plans for both Mary and Joseph. Their significant change of plans turned out to be a gift for them and also for the entire world. Today we're looking at Matthew chapter 1, verses 18 through 24. This is how Jesus the Messiah was born. His mother Mary was engaged to be married to Joseph, but before the marriage took place, while she was still a virgin, she became pregnant through the power of the Holy Spirit. Joseph, to whom she was engaged, was a righteous man and did not want to disgrace her publicly, so he decided to break the engagement quietly. As he considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream. "Joseph, son of David," the angel said, "do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child within her was conceived by the Holy Spirit, and she will have a son, and you are to name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins." All of this occurred to fulfill the Lord's message through his prophet. "Look, the virgin will conceive a child. She will give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel," which means God is with us. When Joseph woke up, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded and took Mary as his wife. Hey kids, make sure you keep your eye on the background for all of the characters that you see. It's going to be very Christmassy this time, so look at the Christmas characters you see. And also, please remember this week to watch the new episode of Connect HQ. Here's the one big idea that I'd like you and I to discuss. Remember, you don't have to agree with me, but I would love to make this a point of discussion as we join together in Zoom this week. An unexpected change can become a gift. I now love my family's Christmas tradition. An unexpected change of plans presented me with such a wonderful gift, and it changed our family tradition, and I love it. This Christmas, most of us are probably looking at an unexpected change of plans, at least in Ontario. But the change in our plans may lead us to a gift, and I don't want us to miss the gift that may be there for us as we're changing our plans this Christmas season. I'd like to unpack this story together with you as we meet on Zoom and right here in this video to see what we can do to find the gift in the plans that we are changing. First, let's just be realists. Our plans change. This is a normal part of life. The text actually says this is how Jesus the Messiah was born. His mother Mary engaged to be married to Joseph, but before the marriage took place, while she was still a virgin, she became pregnant through the power of the Holy Spirit. Talk about a totally radical change of plans that no one could have expected. I liked my previous plans of how I used to do Christmas Eve services and Christmas Day services. I liked what the plan was. In past years, I really loved Christmas Eve, singing carols, reading through the Christmas story, Christmas Eve, everybody taking their turns, sharing the parts that they play, sharing the narratives that they read. And then we ended off with lots of candy and baked goods and sugary stuff and hot chocolate. It was wonderful. I loved the snacks and the interaction time. And I loved that we were constrained to keep it within an hour. So it wasn't too much, and we got kids home and we got them into bed. I also liked what we were doing on Christmas morning, as a few of the families were coming out, gathering together with us. And I'd buy a bunch of toys. And those who came on Christmas morning, if they were kids, I would open up these big boxes of wrapped toys, and they would come and they would open them up and they would have toys. It was the first Christmas gift they were allowed to open on Christmas Day. And if there weren't many kids in that service, and sometimes there were more toys to go around for the kids that were there. I loved those plans, and you know what? I kind of miss those plans. We're not doing that this year. This year, we're currently discussing what this is going to look like. So far, one of the suggestions tossed around was driving to an empty parking lot and staying close to our cars and singing carols together, and sort of like a drive-in Christmas Eve church service. That's not bad, but no snacks. Honestly, I'm afraid to suggest for us to connect on Zoom on Christmas morning to read through the Christmas story and to pray together, because I think my kids will be the first to tackle me and say, "Dad, don't you dare do something like that to us." Mary had some plans of her own as well that she was really loving. She was about to get married. She's picking out flowers. She's finding a dress, making the guest list, driving her wedding planner crazy as she turned into some kind of bridezilla. You know who you are, and don't try to deny it. Then an angel came to announce that God had changed her plans. We didn't choose COVID. Mary didn't choose Jesus. But here we are. Here she is. As we're faced with the reality of social distancing, Mary's faced with the reality of telling her fiancé, Joseph, that she's pregnant with somebody else's baby. And by the way, did I tell you it's God's baby? Like, imagine the reaction that Joseph must have been going through at that moment. Plans change. That's pretty normal. But here's the wonderful thing about bad stuff that change our plans. There's a gift in the middle of it. For Mary and for the world, that gift is Jesus. God coming to us in person, as a person, to make himself accessible to all of us. That is a wonderful gift. Can you think of a time when you experienced a bad event, but in the middle of it, now that you look back, you would say, hey, that small part that was inside of that mess was actually a wonderful gift. There's a gift inside of every bad event if we take the time just to look to find it. Here's the thing though. It's hard to see the good gift often because a lot of us are slow to adapt. We all adapt at different speeds. Think about verse 19 here. Joseph, to whom she was engaged, was a righteous man and did not want to disgrace her publicly, so he decided to break the engagement quietly. As he considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream, and man, if this was me, it would have also taken an angel appearing to me. Joseph, son of David, the angel said, do not be afraid, take Mary as your wife, for the child within her was conceived by the Holy Spirit, and she will have a son, and you name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. My oldest daughter, when she started grade 8, she got hit in the side of the head with a football right in the temple, and it caused a concussion. From that point, for the rest of the year, we're learning all about concussions, changing our lifestyle to help her recovery process. It was all a mess. It affected our entire family. It's a good thing I was a full-time student and I wasn't working at the time, because I would not have been able to hold down a job and take care of my daughter at that time. Okay, however, it was also a huge gift. I'm not saying the concussion is a gift, but there was a huge gift right in the middle of it. My daughter and I traveled about 40 minutes to the concussion clinic about once a week and sometimes twice a week, and we began to love it. I mean, the clinical wasn't great, but we went out for Chinese food, we got milkshakes, we got lots of other treats, we had sushi together. I spoiled her. It's one of the rare moments when it was just her and I, so I made the most of it however I could. And today, I don't remember the trauma as much as I remember those great daddy dates, and I miss them. It was a gift, because it's hard to find those one-on-one times with my kids because I've got 4 of them. And I love them all, and I want to spend so much time with each of them individually, but it's a lot of work with 4 kids. So when I find that one-on-one time, I take advantage of it. In the middle of that messiness, there was a huge gift for me right there. What about you? Do you have a similar story? I mean, maybe not about someone getting a concussion, but maybe a bad event bringing you and someone else together a little bit more closely. Maybe you broke your leg, need to spend 8 weeks healing, but you chose to maybe get certified in a certain course, take an online course, something like that. Well, good for you. I hope you do have a really great story, because not everybody can do that, because some of us are very, very slow to adapt. Joseph was a guy who couldn't do it. He was a guy who could not find the gift in the middle of a bad event that changed his plans. He heard the news. He was ready to move on. To him, everything was bad. I mean, he wasn't a bad guy, though. He didn't want to try to hurt Mary or anybody else. But he also didn't really see anything good in this moment either. For Joseph, it took an angel showing up in his dream to change his mind, and it would have taken the same thing for me. Whatever the vision or glimpse of reality that it was that Joseph got from God, we see Joseph instantly adapt to the change of plans. Our plans for Christmas have changed this year, but God has still shown up. Jesus really has come, and you really can connect with him today. Because Jesus has shown up, you may have to change your plan, but you don't have to change your future. Joseph was partly able to adapt because God gave him a glimpse into a wonderful future. Jesus is the one that saves the world. You've got a glimpse into the future too. Jesus is the one that's holding your future in his hands. God is guaranteeing our future. Verse 22 says, all this occurred to fulfill the Lord's message through his prophet. Look, the virgin will conceive a child. She'll give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. When Joseph woke up, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded and took Mary as his wife. We and God have been socially distancing since the Garden of Eden. The choices we make to follow our own hearts instead of hearing God's heart and responding to it by connecting with him has done damage to our relationship, to our friendship with him. Jesus is the cure to the social distancing between God and people. We're very likely to be socially distancing this Christmas, at least in Ontario, but we don't have to socially distance from God, and we can lean into the glimpse that God has given us of the future. So as you're thinking about the changes that we're about to embrace and allowing that to stress you out, just take a minute and sit down, plant your feet firmly on the floor, feel the floor underneath your feet and stomp on it a little bit. Put your hands on the armrest of your chair and feel that chair, or slap your hands down onto your lap a little bit and just be present in the present right now. You are in control of this moment. There's nothing around you that's going to try to hurt you right now. You've got this right here and right now. You're okay. Take a few breaths now and start to think about the future. Your future is with God forever. Nothing's going to change that if you're a follower of Jesus. Take a moment to look at this change to the way you're spending Christmas this year and try to see the gift that's inside of it. You're able to do now what you couldn't do before. You're able to avoid now what you weren't able to avoid before. COVID doesn't own you this Christmas, and it doesn't own this Christmas. God owns it. Jesus is guaranteeing your future. Please continue to follow him. So, Merry Christmas. That's it from me to you for now. If you haven't got a community that you're connecting with, or you can no longer connect with your community, please consider connecting with For Community, because right now we are all online, all on Zoom mostly. For Community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. See you next time.